There's a very interesting mitzvah in the Torah, and the mitzvah is called Mitzvah Egla Arufa. Egla Arufa is a special, maybe we could call it an offering. Perhaps it's not really an offering. I'll tell you the details of this mitzvah. The Torah says that Torah tells us that if you find a dead person that was killed outside of a city and no one knows who killed that person, you measure v'yatzu ziknei, if I'm not mistaken, ziknei ha'edah, ziknei v'yatzu azkenim, that refers to the Sanhedrin Agdolah that are here in Yerushalayim. They measure the closest city to that dead person, and the closest city, the zkenim, the judges and the leaders of that city, they go and they bring the Egla Arufa. And Egla Arufa is basically a calf that was never had a yoke on its shoulders, never worked, did not do any type of labor, did not carry anything, and they chop the head off. They chop the head off this calf, and they say, Yadeinu lo shafku et hadam hazeh. We did not kill this person, we did not spill this person's blood. Kaper le'amcha Yisrael. Forgive Am Yisrael for this. And it's a very original mitzvah. We'll see soon the reasons exactly, but first of all, why would we suspect the Sanhedrin, the judges of that town, the Dayanim, the rabbis, the Rashi Kahal, Rashi Keilah, for spilling this blood? Do we suspect them to behave in such a way? Chas v'shalom.
It's a rather cruel way to kill an animal.
Sorry?
It's a rather cruel way to kill an animal.
Yeah. And that's also another interesting detail within this mitzvah is about the way that they do it. It seems like tzar b'alechaim, but I don't know exactly the reason, but we definitely see this as like we see it's a korban. How do we know that it's a korban?
And what will you do then with the body of the
I think it's buried or burnt. No one can benefit from it in any way.
What's the body? Obviously murder. Didn't have a heart attack.
So that's it. You've got it's halal. The Torah says halal. Lo nodam yikar. Halal is someone that was killed, not just the person that passed away naturally. So so there are a few details. One of them is about the way that we actually kill this calf. Another one is that it is a korban because it brings kapara. It's not just, what's another example of an animal that was sent? Okay, I mean also Seir Azazel wasn't really a korban. Was it a kapara? There was one offering that was brought inside while they sent the Seir Azazel. Perhaps it also is connected to Yom Kippur and to Seir Azazel that was brought outside of Har Bayis, outside of Jerusalem, here also. And then there's another interesting detail about why would we suspect the rabbis, the Dayanim, the Rashi Kahal to kill. They have to come and they are the ones that have to do a kapara. They have to say, Yadeinu lo shafku et hadam hazeh. Why? So it's very interesting because Rashi says, and you could see it in the previous, today it's not exactly in that way, but Rashi says, Shelo patarnu oto bli ochel vebli levaya, which means that the Rashi Kahal are responsible that if a guest comes into town, he has where to stay, he has where to eat. This is a very, very important principle that throughout all the generations, was something that Am Yisrael kept to. I'll give you an example. So in those days, there wasn't always a hotel that you could go to. There wasn't a local restaurant. But the kahal, there was a Beit Va'ad HaKahal, or Beit HaKahal. And when we went, my wife's family, we went to a trip to the camps to see so one of the places we stopped over was Bratislava. Bratislava is Preshburg, if I'm not mistaken. Was Preshburg. That's where the Chatan Sofer is buried. There are not many Jews in Slovakia in general, and there are not many Jews in Bratislava itself. But they have a beautiful building, and they opened it for us. It was 10 at night or something like that. We were traveling. They had it opened. There was some kind of like local like restaurant or something, so we had food like delivered there, and there was a place that you could come. There's tea, there's coffee, there's a place. So that is a glimpse to the life in Europe before the Holocaust, where each town and each city, so there were Jews traveling and going from one place to another. So you could come, and there was a place where you could stay. So that maybe not all the time there was like a whole hotel, but there was a place that a person could stay or could, whatever it was. That is the responsibility of Rashi Kahal, and this is why they have to say Yadeinu lo shafku et hadam hazeh, which means their cheshbon hanefesh, what they have to take to account is to make sure that at least someone who walks into town, he doesn't leave town starving. Eshet, exactly. Achila, shtiya, and lina. Connected also to next parsha, to the parsha of Lech Lecha, to Avraham Avinu, establishing the first Eshet. What do we do today? Today, you come to Yerushalayim, you can go Airbnb, Booking.com, probably many other options, a hotel. There are plenty of options. So that does not really, is not really a matter, it's not really a problem. And that's why they don't really have it, even if a person is looking for a place to eat. So today there are places to eat. You don't have to go to a fancy restaurant, but you could go to a store and you can buy products. And you can. So there's less of a problem of that, but there is something else that Rashi doesn't speak about then, but I think is very important today. And that is the Shalom Aleichem.
Aleichem Shalom.
Aleichem Shalom. When we meet someone that's new, someone that is, someone that's, that just walked into shul, just walked into town, and the most important part is in shul. You don't have to walk around in the streets telling everyone Shalom Aleichem. You could say good morning. You could. It has a big influence. But a person that comes into shul, you see is new. So usually a person, who am I to greet that person? Why does he need? Maybe he's the son of the rabbi. Maybe he's just visiting for 5 minutes. Maybe it will embarrass him. There's no such a thing. When a person walks into shul, you give him a Shalom Aleichem. You say, hello, welcome. How are you? Even if there's no conversation and you're not good at small talk, you don't need to do a small talk. You say Shalom Aleichem. That is, and the reason I think is that today people are missing it much more than then. And there were a few stories. There's not long ago, there was a story in Kfar Chabad of kids that are being, I don't know the exact word of a cherem. They've been boycotted, or not boycott, but people don't treat them always nicely. They don't always receive the full, the full respect from their fellow students in the classroom. Sometimes they're being called names. I think much more than what it was Pam. Everything was Hamish. It wasn't a local school of 20 kids in a class. Usually, or today, there's even 30 or 40 kids in a class. Then there was 20 kids in the entire school. So if we want to make sure that there's a person outside that chas v'shalom is a halal, lo nadam yikau, one of the ways today is to give him a Shalom Aleichem. what does that have to do with our parsha? Parshas Noach. So Noach, we learn this in the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim. The Torah takes a very, very careful measure of the words that the Torah uses to express stories and ideas that are written within the Torah, and one of them is in our parsha. Noach is commanded by Hashem to go and to build an ark, and he builds this ark because Hashem is about to bring a flood. By the way, also Noach suffers from social, what would be the word? From people who are not really, anxiety perhaps, but not only that, all of his local friends told him, what are you doing? Why are you building such a huge ship? So he said, listen, Hashem, we should close the windows.
Cool.
And that's Hashem is about to bring a flood. So you've got to do teshuvah. And the truth is he did tell them they've got to do teshuvah, but in a very objective way. We'll speak about that towards the end. But what's interesting is that they all laughed at him. They made fun out of that idea. Flood. We are here for quite a long time, and Baruch Hashem, everything's, or maybe they said without the Baruch Hashem, but everything seems pretty much okay. So Noach is bringing the animals onto the ship, and it says that he brings two of Chaya Asher Enena Tehora. And the Torah uses the expression Asher Enena Tehora instead of Tme'ah. The animals that are not pure animals, he brought 2 out of each. And then the pure animals, he brought 7. We know one was for an offering. That was the idea. Why doesn't the Torah say Tme'ah, impure? The Gemara tells us to make sure that when you speak in a nice way. So here the Torah says, instead of saying impure, the Torah says animals that are not pure. In English, there's no real word for impure, but for Tme'ah, not exactly. They use the impure idea. It's interesting. What? Sorry? Okay. So that's question number 1. And not only that, we're going to see that there are plenty of places where the Torah does say Tameah. Zota behema hatmeah. Parshas Re'eh, when the Torah speaks about the different animals, what is kosher and what is not kosher, the Torah clarifies it. The Torah says what is tahor and what is not.
There is a difference
Between?
the first and the second.
Yes, what's the difference?
This is before the Mabul. They were created by God Himself.
Yes.
How can you say with God Himself He made something
Tameh.
unknown?
Okay, it's an interesting idea.
After the
What do you mean that it wasn't created by God Himself? Afterwards, it's also creation of Hashem.
it was created by the animal themselves.
What? What was created by
An
that?
animal. The animal was created by the animal itself.
Okay, yeah.
The first animal was created by
Directly by Hashem. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's a good answer. It's a good answer. It also has to do with the whole idea of what's called politically correct. Right? Shall you like the politically correct? Right? So when it comes to being politically correct, today there are people that are very, very makpid on being politically correct. What does the Torah think about being politically correct? Okay? So we're not speaking about anything rude, or things that you want to tell a person blunt. You want to tell it to him in an open way. We know that people are very careful about being politically correct. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's not good. Or I think everyone agrees that there's something good to it and something bad. No one's going to come over to someone and try and humiliate him or call him by names based on his color, based on the way he looks, based on anything. But on the other hand, we could all agree also that there are cases that you've got to be very clear. Because if you are unclear, so you might end up making the animals that are not kosher, you might end up making them kosher. Okay, so the Torah, after all, does not say to Noach, you know what, or Noach doesn't say, you know what, let's just bring 7 of all. Behema tahira, behema sherenena tahira. There is a difference. We've got to draw a line. Question is where? Yes, Chabad.
No, I was just going to say before being blunt with someone, ask them if they put the filling on. That's a good ice.
Ask them what?
Yes, sir.
They put the filling on.
Oh.
And then get into it.
Yeah. Okay. There is a Torah of the Baal Shem Tov that I'm sure many of you have heard before. Maybe in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, maybe not in the name of the Baal Shem Tov. But the Torah tells us, the Baal Shem Tov says, a very interesting idea. And this is from the Ma'or Einayim. So again, the Baal Shem Tov himself didn't really write books. There are quotations from the Baal Shem Tov. But the books, you can find his teachings in the books of his students. Because he told it over by heart. And they went and wrote it down. So there's the Ma'or Einayim, which is one famous book. Toldus Yaakov Yosef, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polna, which was also one of the greatest Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov. And then later on, this is quoted in the Sichos of the Rebbe Rayatz. By the way, the Rebbe Rayatz has a lot of sifot, a lot of talks encouraging us exactly about these, the idea of the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov says like this, that if you see something bad in your friend, that's a sign that the bad is really within you. Pretty sharp, pretty blunt, right? So if you see something bad about someone else, it's not really about him, it's about you.
So basically, King George Boulevard, Grant the Street of Jerusalem was quieted.
Then yeah. Let's close the.
It'll filter it out.
And I guess I go.
I think I know what's causing all the traffic.
What is it?
The school. On the bright side, kids get educated.
But they go deaf.
So they can actually learn.
Okay. So this is the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov. This is what the Baal Shem Tov preaches us. The Baal Shem Tov says that if you see something bad in someone else, that means it's really within yourself, and even gives an example. He says it's like a mirror, that if a person sees something that is dirty on the mirror, that means that it's something dirty on him. Because the mirror is just a reflection of who the person himself is.
What? It applies to Jews or to anybody?
There is a side that applies to anybody as well. And you know how I know? Because it's about Noach. We'll soon see within Noach himself. Good question.
If you see ISIS man,
Yes.
Achsavi, means you are Achsavi.
Question number 1. Very good. So let's say you see someone he's cruel, like ISIS person, Hamas, Hezbollah, or someone that you, not only that's like an extreme case, but let's even speak about you see someone that actually did something wrong. And it's clear that he did something wrong. Okay? So does that mean
Similar on his children. It's fine. It's fine.
so that's it. I'm not sure that we're not only trying to overlook the person in general what is called melamed zechut. That you're right. There's a thing to melamed zechut. I don't know if there's much room melamed zechut on Sinwar, even though that is something that, by the way, one of the things about this war is that the Arabs, they do have certain zufiyot. They pray, they do the bris milah, they respect the parents. So this is not only a physical war, it's a spiritual war as well. And we've got to show that we are more worthy. We spoke about it, sorry. Yeah.
That even among Jews, someone who harms you before you get upset, you consider if they ever done anything nice to you, is it a nice guy, is that okay? So you don't automatically go to, I'm going to confront you directly. How could you do this?
Right.
Maybe you babysat your kids 3 months ago. So
Yeah.
So it's different ways of
Right. So this is also, we're going to talk about this now, and this is also hocheach tocheach et amitecha, rebuke, which is an important principle in Judaism. So question number one, what Yaakov Meir asked, is Lechaira, there are people that we clearly know that they do something wrong. If we see it, does that mean that that the bad is inside us? And not only that, but we know that there are certain mitzvahs that we just said, that there is a mitzvah, the Torah, in other words, wants you to go over to your friend and to tell him, listen, I saw you talking between Baruch She'amar and Shmona Esrei. And I want to tell you that talking between Baruch She'amar and Shmona Esrei is forbidden. The halacha is that we've got to concentrate on davening. And if you speak between Baruch She'amar and Shmona Esrei, you're doing what's called a hefsek. Okay? Or you see someone shaking a lulav in Esrei, and you see that he's holding the Esrei upside down. So you've got to go tell him, listen, you're not doing the mitzvah. Does that mean that inside you, you're also not doing the mitzvah? If there's the bad thing inside you as well? How could that be? The Torah tells you to go and to rebuke someone else, your friend, of course in a pleasant way, in a nice way. But again, does that mean that it's a reflection of what's going on inside you? So,
The book you are in front of
yes.
is Sharai Emunah.
No, this is Likutei Sichot.
Oh, okay.
This is a Sikha of the Rabbi. It's from a few Sichot, actually. And that's and again, the question in principle is, why can't it be that the bad is within that person, and I'm just seeing it? Does it have to be that it?
But if I say you're holding the lulav or something, it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean I'm holding the lulav. You're probably doing something.
Right.
Have I rebuked myself?
Yeah. Yeah, but talking in the middle of davening, there is a certain element where if you notice a certain type of bed, and that's why when people talk to you, they give so much information about themselves. Okay, so if someone's talking to you and he tells you about whatever it is, okay, about that's a hint of what's going on inside him. And that's why, going back to what we spoke about, the Eglah Rufah, is step number one is just a Shalom Aleichem, just to welcome the person. Step number two is just to listen to him. Because when you listen to him, you'll get so much information about what's really happening with that person. But you've got to concentrate on the other. You've got to concentrate, and you've got to try to find the signals. Mostly we don't. Mostly when a person talks to us, it's just an opportunity for us to respond. So you catch a word here, you respond. It's like a trigger. It's not really, you're not really listening. There's the hakshava, lishmoa v'la'akshiv. La'akshiv, that is an art. If you're able to hear, to listen, so you're listening to someone, you know what he's going through and what's important for him, etc. So, but it's besides that. And we also know that there's the concept of hashgacha pratit. there was once a discussion, a conversation between two drunk Russians. So they used to go and drink every single night. They were good friends. So one tells his friend, Ivan, do you love me? Ivan says, yes, for sure. Do you love me? Yes, for sure. With all my heart. So can you tell what is bothering me? He was silent. And that's a question. Yeah, so you don't have to get that close to every single person. But if it's someone that you are friends with, close, so.
This is a new trend, I think, with, called the active listening.
Active listening, that's what it's called. Interesting.
You have to do that.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting way to put it. Okay, so, and here we get to the other idea of Hashgacha Pratit. Hashgacha Pratit is divine providence. So if Hashem shows you something, what is the meaning behind that? Is that a lesson? Does that mean that it's really something that's within you? Where does Hashgacha Pratit kick in when it comes to seeing? By the way, that it says also that so I think that this is the explanation, and we also learn it when it comes to Negaim, when it comes to Tzarat. It says that if there's a Talmid Chacham that knows all the types of the Tzarat, he knows to tell whether this is Tahor, this is Tameh, he could say about every person in the world, the king, the Kohen Gadol, the biggest judge, the biggest Dayan, the biggest anyone. Chutz min nigei atzmo. Person is not allowed to speak about his negaim. Is a Talmid Chacham. He could compare it to other people as well. You're not allowed to paskin the tzarat that you have.
I had a problem, according to what we're saying.
Yeah.
I have some friends in Italy which behave in a completely opposite way. If they are ill, we don't say to anybody. Other ones, they say.
Yeah.
The ones who have a secret out of it, nobody knows.
Yeah.
So, is it related to not to speak bad about yourself or something different? Is Ainara, what is it?
So that's it. I know what you're talking about. I know it's a difference. Yeah. In a lot of places, they have this type of difference. Some people, yeah, it's a matter of, listen, each one has his own reason. Some people, it's Ainara. Some people, they don't want other people to be worried. They don't want also to seem vulnerable. Oh, now he's going to want to say, oh, do you need this help? No, I can take care of myself. For 70 years, I've been taking care of myself. That's one of sometimes the hardest things, is that suddenly a person that's, whatever.
So it's not related to you were saying.
I don't think necessarily directly. You're asking, according to the Torah, can I share that? Sure.
Okay.
Not only that, Bikur Cholim, the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim that takes away 1/60th. It's such a great mitzvah that, and perhaps one of the reasons that it's so great is that, and I know some people, I know one person that he's very, very wealthy, but he takes time to go visit people just to know, that's the most beautiful thing that could be done. And just to talk to a person, how are you? Whatever, just say, okay, I wanted to say, whatever it is, it's the biggest mitzvah. And the reason is perhaps because it helps a person. And especially when it comes to health issues, there's also a psychological effect as well. So Bikur Cholim is also about the psychological effect, but also physically, especially today in the hospitals. Baruch Hashem, in the Bet Chabad, I can't say we are happy to do it. We don't want to do it, but if it's needed, we do go sometimes to visit people that are in the hospital, because the most important thing is never to go alone and to stay there alone. For many reasons, it's, and Baruch Hashem, a very efficient system. But the medication, you've got to double check. You've got to always question the doctors, ask for all the options. It's a lot of shit.
Never go alone.
Person into a hospital. Make sure that there's someone there with you at least. So if not all the time, but that, and also when the nurses and the doctors see that there's someone else with you, so they respect you, and it's something very different. So, okay. So this is, yeah. Where were we? Okay. So, so we spoke a bit about the Gur Chalim. So here it comes to Nigiat more, and this has to do with shofar in general. There was once a judge that had to, a Yid that went against the Gentile to a trial. And he comes the day before to the judge, knocks on his door in the house. Shalom, I'm a Jew, and I have tomorrow a case. Here's a nice envelope for you. So the judge says, how aren't you ashamed to come and openly give me ma'atafa, an envelope of money? How could you do such a thing? So he was shocked from the. So he says, listen, I'm going to be against the Gentile. I already know that the odds are to his side. This is just to even things out. So, and the end of the story is that he won the case. But shofad is something so what would be the word? It's undercover that you don't even know how it influences you. You don't even know. There are many ways to give shofar. That the Gemara was stories about the Dayanim, even a smile. Yeah. There was one story. First of all, there are the stories from the Gemara. Beautiful stories about even one person that just helped the rabbi to step onto the boat. The rabbi was traveling and to cross the river. You know, he could have done it himself. He said, "Ani pasul ledin." I cannot do a din Torah. It's a great story, not about a judge, but about winning a contract, which is also, you win a contract, part of it is to smile or to give an envelope, whatever it is. So there was once a company that was for many, many years supplying tea, let's say to the government or to the government officers, or an espresso bar, whatever it was. And there was a new company that wanted to take over that contract. But they said, like, what are the chances? They were sitting, so that the manager said, I've got a plan, I've got an idea. He found out that whatever the person that has to make the decision about the contract, where he lives. And every single day, there was a person greeting him over there, the shoer, or the person, the guard that was there. And he was wearing the shirt with the logo of that tea company. So when it came the day where they had to choose between the two companies, subconsciously, without being aware, he favored the other company, even though for years it was the first company that was supplying. And we would ask him why. He not necessarily would know, but subconsciously, that person, the guard, saying good evening and opening the gate with the logo, with the whatever smile, whatever it was, that gave them the deal. Yeah. So, okay, so this is a bit about shofar and a bit about nigeatzmo. So here is the best example here is that when a person sees something bad about someone else, so again, you're not going to see it within yourself directly because you're not going to be able to see the defaults in yourself. But nevertheless, Hashem sometimes shows that to you through someone else. And here there is a big difference. And the difference is between whether you see the story, the bad, or you see what needs to be fixed. This is the difference. If you're seeing a story in someone else, if it becomes a whole maaseh, that shows that you're taking it to heart, and that's already the mirror. That's about the bad that's within you. And the best example is when you see someone else talking in shul. So you see someone else talking in shul, you could be very, in Hebrew they say inyani. Inyani is to the point. You don't want the person talking, so you tell him once, please don't talk. If he doesn't listen, so you move somewhere else, you focus on your davening. But if you're going to start seeing a whole story, and you're going to tell your friend, how could this be? This person is here. He comes and he talks all davening. And you tell it to the rabbi, and you tell it to the gabbai, and it becomes a whole story. That is a sign that it's not about fixing, it's not about the rebuke, but it's about the story. How can you build a story? Story starts within you. So perhaps you're not talking in davening, but you have the potential. You know exactly what it needs. So that's one example. And even when it comes in medical cases, often people don't want to say because, the other side, other people you share with, they're going to make a story out of it. No one wants a story. But if it's inyani, a person that you would share it to is a person that's to the point. Someone that would say, you know what, I don't want to hear about what, how, where. Let me see how I can help you. How we could solve the problem. And that is real rebuke. Rebuke is not to tell a story to another person. Rebuke is to try and lift him up. Let's try and fix it. When it's someone that you care about, rarely, right? Someone that's very close to you, you're not going to judge him. You're not going to tell a story out of it. You're going to try and help. It's like a person that chas v'shalom, something embarrassing happens to him. And we're getting to that in our parsha. That is the story of Noach. Noach leaves the ark, and after he leaves the ark, what does he do? The first thing that he takes care of is a lachaim. Vayita keren. He makes wine, he makes good wine, he gets drunk, and he gets naked. And here there are two ways to react. There is Cham's reaction, and there is Shem and Yefet's reaction. Cham comes from the word chom, heat, and also chomriyut, materialism. So Cham immediately sees the story. And that's why he goes back to the brothers. He doesn't look to try and help his father, cover him up and, fix the problem, so to speak.
They're saying it frustrated.
So there are opinions that they even go further, correct? But even the basic opinion that he saw him in that position without helping him, without fixing, and he went out to the brothers and he tells the brothers, oh, look, father's naked, he got drunk. No, that is already observing the bad that is within you. The other brothers, what they did was, they went to fix the problem. They did not look. They went and they just looked. That is why in the Torah itself, so you spoke about the example of ISIS, for example. See someone that's cruel, that's bad. By the way, sometimes we have to remember Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. But otherwise, and by the way, throughout there were several times that they showed the video of the horrors that happened in the 7th of October. And they did not show it yet to the public. You cannot really, probably you could find it in, I don't know.
It was a mistake.
It was a mistake to see it.
No.
Not to show it.
Not to show.
Okay, so here I think we can have a discussion about this. But they did show it to the Knesset members. They did show it in the Memshala. And a lot of people actually from, like the ministers, it's not like we can take a big example from them or they're any kind of special role model in Torah and mitzvahs. They're politicians. But some of them all left in the middle or did not want to see it in the first place. And yes, it has a certain influence on the soul. So if there's an ISIS video going around, I recommend not to look at it. If it has to do with Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek, that you've got to remember what Amalek did to us, lo tishkach, there is a mitzvah. So I'm not saying that you've got to now go and you've got to fulfill the mitzvah and you've got to look for that video to fulfill the mitzvah. There are many ways to fulfill the mitzvah. You want to go down to Gaza, you can go down to the area. That's one way.
That's very dangerous.
Today it's not dangerous at all.
But once the war ends.
Even now it's not dangerous. You want to go in Gaza? Even in Gaza it's not dangerous today. But there are many groups and that went, and it's something that is good to do. So that is so there are many ways. You can know by reading the stories, and even by the fact of being so aware and knowledgeable about what happened. That's already strong enough. That's already good enough to fulfill the mitzvah of Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. But to create a story out of it, if it has nothing to do with Amalek, then it's because a person has something evil within him. So again, the extreme cases, they have to do with Amalek, that is something else. But the regular cases where you see someone that you're not happy with his behavior, maybe he shares a different political view. Okay, doesn't mean that he's a bad person. So the response to that person should not be about the story, but about fixing. Let's say there's someone that has a different political view, so he's going to vote. The elections are not here and coming up soon, but let's say in 2 years' time. Or he has a certain opinion about Bibi or not about Bibi, or about who's responsible, who's not responsible. The idea is that if you can fix it, fix it. If not, what you're going to express is the bad that's within you. You're not going to, he's not the bad person. He has his reasons for doing that. But if you see the story about it, that's something else. That is already, that has to do with the Ra.
You're
spoke.
Navat.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
it's not because you have something in it, in yourself, in
Yeah, that's right. And you know what it's connected to the next part that we're going to see is the places where the Torah does use extreme language. Tameh, impure, hakazonah yaseh tachoteinu, and many other cases that the Torah does, and that has to do sometimes with being clear about certain things. For example, a psak halacha. A rabbi cannot be politically correct when it comes to the blunt halacha. If you ask the rabbi, is this cow kosher or not? Is this milk kosher or not? Is this hefsher kosher or not? So in certain cases, when it comes to hefsherim, yes, you've got to be careful. You've got to know the situation. You've got to be smart. But a rabbi cannot say, listen, I like this cow, and all cows are accepted. We have nothing against this cow, but it's recommended not to come close to it or to find a blurry word to describe an unkosher piece of meat. That is not a good rabbi.
I think there is a story in the Gemara about the Hillel and Shammai, about the chicken. One said it's kosher, and one said it's not kosher. And Rabbi Hillel answered to Shammai, who said it's not kosher, she's going to make a bracha for Shabbos, and you are impeding them to make a bracha for Shabbos. It's kosher.
Kosher, interesting. Yes, sir. So that they have to have a source to that from the halacha itself. That comes from a difference in halacha. But if you know the psak, and this is the difference, if it's not just a story like what the Torah tells us about Noach, that there it's a story. It's not a psak halacha. It has nothing to do with the practical side of halacha. But a rabbi that would tell you, listen, this, your sukkah that you're sitting in is not Chag friendly. What kind of an answer is that? It's not sukkah friendly. So you don't want to offend a person you don't want to offend the person who worked very hard to build this sukkah. Do it in a respectful way, but you've got to tell him the truth. And that's about the Psak Halakha. Yes.
Now, his story reminded me of Rabbi Goldberg's recent little video shir on the Baal Shem Tov, saying purposely not making his sukkah perfect. Purposely not making his sukkah perfect.
Because he wanted to melamed zchut on all of those that did not do it perfectly. So, again, here we have two things. We have limud zchut, and we have shurat hadin. So limud zchut, like we said, you can learn from any person, and we should melamed zchut on any person, like Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Bartich. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Bartich, he used to melamed zchut on every person, even a person that intentionally ate on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Bartich used to say that at least he's saying the truth. So that was his limud zchut. So limud zchut is something else. That's the Lashon. But when it comes to the halakha itself, we want to know again, where is the boundary? Where do we draw the line between speaking in a nice way with manners or saying things in a blunt way? And by the way, this has to do also with regular life. If someone's doing the wrong thing, you've got to tell him, listen, you're not eating, you're not sleeping enough. You cannot tell it to him in a political way. But if someone else is, it's just maybe you want to improve his ways, you want to make, so not always the smartest thing is to go over to a person and tell him, listen, you do a diet. And if you see, and he tells you that it's not good for him and it's a sakanat nefashot, yes, then you've got to save his life. You've got to tell him, listen, do a diet. But if a person, don't go over to him and tell him, do a diet. No. That's where you should be politically correct. So again, the Torah here explains us, and this is what's beautiful about the story, is that there's a difference between a psak halakha and just another regular case. Another regular case when Noach is there to bring the animals. So it has nothing to do with a psak halakha, even though it's a very important task what he's doing. But the Torah tells us, you know what? Try and use a clean language. And that's also, if I'm not mistaken, when Moshe Rabbeinu brings his wife over to, I don't remember exactly. It's in the Gemara Masechet Pesachim. I've got to look it up.
Juventus accuses when Juventus accuses another team of cheating, it's because they know what cheating looks like.
If you see somebody in New York, and he said, I was in Boston, he's cheating. It's not because you know.
Okay. So that explains to us, first of all, the idea of the Baal Shem Tov, the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, the meaning. Second of all, it makes it very practical to us in our daily life, starting from the idea that we've got to see the positive in someone else. We've got to take care of other people and never to discriminate someone, never to do a cherem on anyone. And not only that, but to try and listen to him, to try hear him. And that explains to us also the difference between a psak halakha and a story. So next time, yes, you could look out if you want to be the person that is guarding, that's in charge. So yes, you could look around and see where could things be fixed. And we always have people who come to the Beit Chabad. They want to help. They want to say, okay, this could be fixed. And if you keep it to the idea of fixing things, perfect. Don't make a story out of it.
So if there was a halal at some point, this is a while ago, some guy runs away, pointing at mine. I didn't know what he was pointing at initially.
When was this?
And
When was this?
it was during a hello at some point.
Oh.
I was pointing at like the film because it was, but I didn't even know it was, it's 2 rows away. He's pointing at. So I went to him. I think he should have come to me, probably.
Yeah.
But I went to him, what did you? And
Yeah.
he said, so fix this. Thank
Yeah.
you. I said, thank you, fix it.
Fix it. Yפה. נכון.
But he should have, I mean, theoretically.
So that's a good
that's what
story.
he should have-
He should have come over, and it happens here at the Bet Chabad. Yes, so you're not going to tell make an announcement. The person that fit it. That's a good example. So where's it coming from? He knows he's not doing things perfectly, and that's why he spots that he's not doing. So instead of coming and fixing it, he's in a certain way justifying the problems that he does. Oh, you're also not doing it correct. So I also don't do things correctly, and it justifies it. We're all in the same boat. So again, psychologically, that's how people work. So that's a good example. What was the reaction? How their reaction should have been. The reaction should have been you shouldn't even notice that he did it in a certain way. Like he should have fixed it, and that's it. Go back to. Yפה.
Does he speak about the cruelty of the NACHLAOT?
No. We're learning actually in Derech Mitzvotecha NACHLAOT. So we'll speak about that more. Yeah.
There is also some kind of cruelty. Skilas, refa, chelek.
Yeah.
That's not that easy.
The most humane ways of killing someone. They say there's an argument in the Gemara, what are the easier ones? Cherev is the easiest.
Which is the easiest?
Cherev.
Which is
Yeah. Shalom Eida. There's one other part, and this is the difference between Noach and Abraham. It's also very much connected here to what we're saying, because what we see, this is a development within the generations. Ham does not know how to fix the problem properly. The brothers, they are not there first. So the rebuke here is not done in the best way. Let's see the correct way of doing things. And this is hinted in Eile Toldot Noach. Noach ish tzaddik, tamim haya bedorotav. In his generation, Noach was a righteous man. Why does the Torah say in his generation?
Everybody else was bad.
Everyone is so bad.
if so.
Yeah.
Let's suppose that Noach knew it. Not he was a tzaddik, that they were bad. Avraham didn't know. Maybe that is a
Ulai yesh.
Ulayesh. Noach, he knew there is none. So he kept silent. So
Why is it? So this already has to do with limud zechut. Trying to melamed zechut, but not only trying to melamed zechut, I think it's also about a matter of responsibility over others. And we're not blaming Noach. It's not a complaint to Noach. Why didn't you? We are mentioning that there's a difference between the generations. The generation of Noach. So Noach's mission over there was to make sure that there's a possibility to save humanity. So he comes aboard, and anyone else that does teshuvah also can come aboard. And Og, that was left over, he held onto the teva, onto the ark.
who is?
Og Melech HaBashan.
He was on the.
Not inside, he held onto it. That's the Midrashim, that's how Og survived. He was from the giants from before the Mabul. And the Ramban says that probably quite a few other giants also were saved in that way.
Nephilim?
Nephilim, coming from the Nephilim, yeah. So there's a difference in the generations, and I think we spoke about this also Sunday, that it's interesting to see the timeline of this, just the stories that happened and the development of humanity, and in a holy way also. So Noah, we don't come and complain, why didn't you try and drag people into your teva? It's not his responsibility. But nevertheless, that's not the highest level that a person can reach. Animals, by the way, they're not responsible for one another. Even when they are attacked by lions, and often we have this conversation, what level of intelligence they have. So elephants, for example, they put all the small elephants in the middle and the center, and the big elephants, they are around. And if I'm not mistaken, other species also have certain tactics of defense. They use the ears or the
adler, who puts the children under his foot.
The nesher,
The eagle.
Eagles, the vultures, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Noah did not, it's not like he did something wrong. But in his nature, the Kedusha, the holiness that was felt in the world, was that each person is to himself. There was less of a challenge, and by the way, this also today, you'll see that in the Jewish world, there's much more of a sense of unity than in other places. In other places, it's unacceptable to try and speak to someone about his business. It's his business. You don't interfere. People, they live their life alone. Here, everyone's like mixed with each other. Everyone's taking care of each other. How could I help? How could I? So this is a certain development that took thousands of years. Because first of all, there's nothing that connects us. In a certain way, the animals that are running away from the lions, each one's to himself. If they would stand, the antelopes, not the antelopes, but perhaps the bulls, and the 10 bulls would stand against the lion, so perhaps they would be able to put up some kind of defense. But it doesn't work in that way. There's nothing that unites them. So Noah had the same approach. Nothing really unites him with the other people. There's going to be a flood. Try and say he's going to give over the information, which is already nice. But he's not going to do anything beyond that. What Avraham Avinu does is already he becomes involved in what happens in a place that does not belong to him. Yes, he has a relative there, but it's not about the relative. And even about saving the relatives. Did Noah not have any relatives? Probably Noah had also relatives, besides his children. He probably had an uncle or a cousin, exactly like Avraham and Lot. It wasn't just about the family to take care of them, but it was much more. It was about the idea of unity, that there is really a connection between the two. And this goes and deepens and is expanded more and more and more, going into Egypt, Matan Torah. That is the real time where we say there's an Arevut, because that's when we actually receive the Neshama and we become Jews. That is Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh.
So we receive the Neshama.
Matan Torah. Giyur, Am Yisrael, they did a Giyur, Matan Torah. Bris, they did a bit before, but they went to the mikveh. They had to go to the mikveh. They had to study all the halachot. They did Giyur. So there's a question, Am Yisrael before Matan Torah, were they like regular Gentiles? That's a discussion. Perhaps not. Perhaps there were different type of Bednoth, but they were not full Jews. Jews that we know today. That's what we say. Ubanu b'chalta mikol am velashon in Kriyat Shema. That is Matan Torah. We've got to have it in mind, Matan Torah. That's when we become.
There's the Nefesh Chaim, Bereshit.
Yes.
what happened between Bereshit and Matan Torah.
What do you mean? With which
If you receive the Neshama at
Matan Torah?
Matan Torah, then there is a difference between that Neshama
And then a Shama before.
and Nefesh Chaim.
What do you mean Nefesh Chaim? The Nefesh Abamid?
Nefesh Chaim. It's not the same.
It's not the same. It's a good question. Again, there the Alter Rebbe speaks about, you're right, that the Alter Rebbe says, Vayipach, that it's Mamish, speaks about the Nefesh Elokit. But they didn't have a Nefesh Elokit then. Adam had a Nefesh Elokit perhaps. We could say that about Adam, he was the only one that had that time. But it did not go to.
So we can say that the difference is before Vayipach, Be'apah, is Neanderthal man.
Before Vayipach Be'apav?
Yes.
How do you know that it wasn't immediately? Vayitzer Adam min ha'afar min ha'adama. Vayipach Be'apav nishmat chayim.
Vayetzer is with two Yud.
Yeah.
So it's not bara. So it formed during the time.
Could be. Could be. The fact that there were other, that you can find today skulls that are very different to human skulls, 100%. What type of creature they were, and whether Adam was formed Adam immediately, Lichora, Adam was formed immediately. And it's not a contradiction. Hashem created many species that today do not exist. Dinosaurs did exist. There's no question about it that the Midrash says that King David, he stood on a re'em that was huge. So,
I was thinking that
yeah.
if there is evolution, there might be devolution.
What?
So God created Adam, evolved. After the sin at Sadat, they went back to Neanderthal.
Yeah. So, by the way, there was definitely a Yerida, if not by Adam himself, also by Adam himself. There was a Yerida.
Cain.
Okay? Yeah. But if not even if himself, so the second, third generation, fourth generation, yeah. Vayu yamav 120 shana. Before the Mabul, people could live 1,000 years, 900, 700, 600 years. After the Mabul, 120 years. And that's pretty much how it stayed. Like that's there's no recorded person that lived 150, 180. And even there are people that, even if life quality wasn't as high as it is today, but people lived till 100, 110, 120.
Well, Abraham went to 175.
Right, yeah, but I'm saying like in the last 1,000 years, maybe 2,000 years.